Hello, this is Nina, and today we're going to talk about channeling. Very exciting. For those of you who are new, my name is Nina, and I am a channeler, psychic medium, and healer. I used to work with teaching, spiritual teacher, but I don't do that anymore. But I do teach here on YouTube. So hopefully that will reach somebody and that they will benefit from my teachings. Okay, there we go. Let's get into it. Channeling. That is a big topic. Channeling is, well, first of all, let's explain what channeling is and what it isn't. Channeling is when you are connected with entities that are not earthbound, that has not been earthbound. You can, of course, also, many people call that channeling when they are talking to entities that has been here on earth. And I guess you can call that a form of channeling. But, and especially if you do it in a broad perspective, when it's not for a particular person that knew that deceased person, but if it is ascended master or something like that, then yes, I would put that under channeling. However, if it is a person that has been on this earth, that kind of belongs to somebody sitting in front of you, that is mediumship. Okay, so it's kind of two different ways of communicating. For me also, it's important to know the difference because of the way I personally communicate when I connect with the different entities. For me, and this is different for each person, for me when I do mediumship, I always feel them on my left side. When I do channeling, I feel them behind me, to my right, sometimes in front of me, or just kind of a connection where they are, okay? But when I feel them on my left, that tells me that this is a deceased loved one from whomever is in front of me, okay? And I think Spirit orchestrated it that way for me so that I would know the difference. I know my ex-colleague, or maybe soon-to-be colleague again, I don't know. All depending on if we're going to work together again. Lisa Williams, she gets it on the right side, okay? So and she uses her clairaudience when she's connecting. For me, I use more my clairvoyance, but also clairaudience, okay? And they come in on the left. So everybody has that differently. But channeling for me is not about deceased loved ones that, has passed over, that is from a sitter in front of me. Channeling is when I communicate with the angels, for instance, with the Christ consciousness, with non-human intelligence in general, what you would call extraterrestrial, or some people call them aliens. But of course they're not alien, they're our star family. So, but and you can also, of course, communicate with planets, with whatever energies you want in the universe, the God source energy, for instance, so that part is channeling. Now, how do we do that? Well, first of all, I would say, if you're totally new to the spiritual field, I wouldn't start with channeling. I would start with psychic, working with psychic, kind of expanding your psychic abilities, meaning doing readings for people, reading energies, using cards, for instance, picking up on psychometry, those kind of things to expand and strengthen that muscle that is psychic. Then I would maybe, if you want to, move over to mediumship and then strengthen that muscle. And then maybe move over to channeling after that. You don't have to go into mediumship first, but however, it is a kind of natural progression, and I feel a very good way to strengthen that muscle. It isn't that many people that teach channeling, I've noticed. Many people teach mediumship, but they don't teach channeling so much. So it will probably be easier for you to find a course or workshop or wherever with mediumship, and then you can kind of enhance your connection. Some people have that connection from get-go. They have it from the day they were born. They communicate with angels from they were born, and then they're kind of a natural channeler. And there's also different ways to do the channeling. Now, some people are what you call trance channelers. Then trance channelers can also be in different stages. You have trance channelers that kind of go into a half trance, where their counterpart higher self is present together with the entity that they're channeling. But some people go into full trance channeling, and then that means that they step back totally and they don't remember actually what the entity is saying, because the entity kind of comes in and borrows the vocal cords and maybe their hands and face or head space and stuff like that, or they borrow the entire body and channel that way. Okay, some channelers actually leave their entire body. They go someplace else and come back when the entity is done. So, there are different ways of doing it. And of course, there are those that do mental channeling, which is what I do. Mental channeling to half trance channeling is what I do. Sorry, I have a puppy that's 6 months old. She will bark. She will make noise. So it is a matter of finding what is it that works for you. Where are you guided to go? For me, I have felt that the mental channeling is where I have my strength. And I have not felt the need for going into full trance. Okay, that's me. People are different, but that's me. Now, how do you decipher, what comes from your own mind, what comes from what you have learned, from your brain, and what is true spirit? Well, that's practice, and that's trust, okay? And that's why I encourage you to start with the psychic stuff, because then you get the feedback that your senses, your clairs are working, because your clairs need to be working properly in order for you to connect with anything, right? And with your clairs, I mean your clairvoyance, which is seeing, clairaudience, which is hearing, claircognizance, which is knowing, and clairsentience, which is sensing, feeling, okay? And with the clairsentience, for instance, there's different ways of feeling. You can also feel it physically on your body, or you can feel it emotionally. Claircognizance is where you just know, okay? You just kind of get a download, a knowing. Clairaudience is, of course, where you hear things. It can be with your inner ear most of the time, but sometimes people actually hear the voice in the room with their ears. And then you have, of course, clairvoyance, which is that you see with your inner eye. In very rare cases do you see it, Then we're going into what is called physical mediumship, which is a totally different thing, okay? With physical mediumship, then things can actually appear. But, so that's just an explanation on the clairs that you're using. And those muscles needs to be worked on, It's like when you're working out with your body, you don't go from being somebody with no muscle and absolutely no way of doing anything to being the world champion at something, So it takes a while to practice the different muscles. And I've made other videos on the psychic part, so you can find that on the playlist of your psychic gifts or your spiritual gifts, and you will see some advice on how to work with your psychic muscle. But once you have kind of gotten that part working and you're started to using your clairs, and maybe you've also taken some course in mediumship to strengthen that muscle of, communicating with energies outside of you, then you should move on to channeling if you want to. That's kind of the way I would recommend, at least, that you do it. Oh, my puppy is just going bonkers right now. My neighbor is taking his car out. She's 6 months old. So she's just being a puppy. I'm sorry about that. Anyways, so wonderful. Frida! Skal du gå og legge deg litt? Frida! Ja. Let's see what happens. Anyways, yeah, in case you didn't know, I'm Norwegian, people. That's why. That's why you heard a totally different language right now. Okay, anyways, so now it comes to the most exciting part, and that's what can we channel? Who are we channeling? What are we meeting up with when we channel? Now, many people channel angels, and I would say that's a very good start. Your own spiritual team, of course, is something you can channel as well. But they are kind of always with you, and they will give you messages, you know. So it's not really channeling in that sense, I would say. But start with angels. They love to communicate. They want to be part of your life. So invite in an angel that you would like to know better. For instance, Archangel Michael, who's been a huge part of my life, and who I feel around me quite often. And remember, they are omnipresent, so they can be with anybody at any time. There is no time or space in that sense for them, so they can be with whomever. So you're not occupying them by asking them to be with you. Okay, so connect with an angel. You know, start there and start writing down what you get. And you can also test yourself or test your, you know, the information you're getting. Ask them, for instance, if you're reading about something in the news, and ask them, okay, how is this going to go? Or how long is this going to take? Or is that person going to win the Olympics? Or, you know, is that team going to win the Super Bowl? I don't know, something like that. And you test yourself. That's a way to start also, so that you get feedback on what you're channeling. You can also test it with a person in front of you, because you can ask an angel. If you've been channeling and getting a relationship with an angel, you can have a person sitting in front of you, and you can ask questions to the angel regarding that person and get feedback on that person saying, yes, that's correct. Then you know that you're in connection, right? So you can use it actually also in a reading, okay? Then I would say, you know, we are all different. And for me, I'm open to channeling whatever. I don't want to... And that's why I write channeling light, because I don't want to be just channeling Source or just channeling Archangel Michael or just channeling Pleiadians or whatever. I want it to be open so that they can connect with me if they feel like it. Okay? So that's kind of the way I do channeling, is that I'm open to whomever wants to come through, as long as they are from the good and from the highest energy of vibrating light. So that's a way too. And if you feel afraid in any way, shape, or form, remember that the energy of fear is vibrating very low. So it's very difficult for them to connect if you're vibrating very low. So if that's your case, then I would say ask Archangel Michael to put a protective bubble around you before you start the channeling, so that you don't have that energy of fear within you when you start channeling. Because what you need to do is that you need to raise your frequency quite a bit to be able to channel, okay? Actually, I would say that you are in need of vibrating even higher than you vibrate when you are doing mediumship. And that is why the souls that's coming back from the other side has been earthbound, okay? And if they're coming back and showing themselves in an energy form that they were on this planet, it will naturally be that they are lowering their vibrational frequency quite a bit. Now, the angels and star beings, most of them at least, have a very high frequent energy. And that means that if you're going to communicate with them, you need to have a high frequent energy within you as well to match, so that you can communicate, okay? So that's also why it's very important to spend a lot of time meditating deeply when you are doing channeling before you start, okay? Because you really want to be in a space where you have let go of whatever it is that's bothering you on the human level, and that you have raised your frequency as high as you possibly can before you start communicating, okay? Now, you can communicate with whatever you want in the universe, okay? In this universe, whatever universe, you know. Because there is no time and space when it comes to that. So you can communicate with something on the other side of the entire universe, you know, you with a nebula, with a star, with whatever. There are no limits, okay? That's also important to know. So when you get an entity in, it can be an entity from a star system that you have never heard about before. Okay, there are thousands of star systems where there are light beings of light, And there are also beings, of course, that are more corporal, that are more in a form. It can be anything from a super high vibrational energy and lower, lower, lower. And the lower you come, the more dense it becomes, okay? So it might be some entity that is less dense than we are, but still less dense than the source, for instance. So it might be also different levels of density that you will be communicating with, and different forms and different shapes, and with all sorts of different messages. So you have to be very open when you're doing channeling. But for me, for now, I have been channeling mostly God Source Energy, angels, some star beings, and some descended masters as well, among other Jeshua ben Joseph, who's also named Jesus, and Mary Magdalene, ancestors that for me have a very high frequency, because I believe that they already had a high frequency when they came into this human form, and that they had that during their life as well, like Jesus, for instance, right? And so when you connect with Jesus, I wouldn't call it mediumship because he is so high frequent. So I would call that channeling. Okay, just explain that a little bit as well. So, what else, Spirit? What is it? What else should I share? Yeah, okay, thank you, of course. Okay, yeah, so how does it feel when you're connecting, when they're coming towards you? Okay, so what I do when I have meditated, sat down, I raised my frequency, is that I push my energy out. I actually also push it to the left. In case there are some deceased loved ones that wants to connect as well, I'm open. So I kind of push my energy out like a bubble around me. Okay, and then I sense, okay, there's something here, normally on my right side. There is something here, and then I invite you to come closer so I can feel and see who or what it is. And then I get an image very often in my head, and I get a feeling of who and what it is, a cognizance, a knowing of who it and what it is. And that's when I'm like, okay, so what do you have to tell me? I open up, I surrender. And I open up and I'm like, okay, what do you have to tell me? And then the information comes. And very often I write it down, of course, and then I share it with you later. Or sometimes I have done live channeling where I do that while I'm sitting with you. And because I've been doing this work for such a long time, it can happen even though I'm not maybe prepared as much, because that muscle has been worked on so long. It's a muscle that's kind of automatically on when I sit down in front of the camera, or I sit with a person in front of me wanting a reading, or on the other side of the planet through Zoom or whatever. It's kind of automatically just on. Okay, so that's what happens for me. But for you, if you are new, this probably will take a little bit of time, and that's why it's so important to really sink down deep and meditate properly before you do that. But anyway, so they come in and I feel them. Sometimes I can see them or feel them a little bit further away. And they can come from outside of my energy field also, but I still see them or feel them. Sometimes you can see them or feel them where they are. And that is when we are starting to get into remote viewing. Okay? Because it is the same way of working, actually. But what you do then, and then I would actually close my eyes to do that, you feel like you're part of your light being gets dragged somewhere else. Some people get out of their body all the way. Now, I haven't done that, okay? I have not have an out-of-body experience in that sense. So that's something that hopefully maybe I'll experience in the future. But for now, your higher self can stretch. Your higher self can be in several places at once, right? So you can be in your body, around your body, and also someplace else, okay? And that's very often how you can remote view. So you invite yourself to go someplace, like let's say to the moon, okay? And you land maybe where Apollo 11 landed, you see what it looks like there. Or you go on the back side of the moon, which is, of course, very exciting to see. Okay, what is on the viewpoint that we can't see? What can you see when you're remote viewing that area? So, but that's of course another video with a remote viewing. But so this is channeling, so I have to stick to the topic. Okay, so so you can see also, even if you're channeling, you can see them where they are. Because it might be something that they're trying to show you, or they can just send you images of what it is that they want you to see. Like, for instance, if you're communicating with an entity from another planet, maybe they want you to see what it looks like on their planet. And so either they might take part of your energy there for you to see, or they might send you images from where they are. Yes, puppy. And into your system so that you see what it looks like where they are, right? Yeah, was there anything else regarding that, Spirit? Okay, yeah, thank you. Okay, so what they're saying also is that it isn't necessarily that you see it when they come. Sometimes you feel it on your physical form. It can be hairs rising on the back of your head. It can be a chill. It can feel like a wind, a gust. And that's also when it comes to mediumship, it can feel like the same way. So you might sense them, or you might get them in different ways. You might not even feel or see them in the room at all, but you might get messages. You might get just a knowing, or you might hear it with your inner ear. Okay, because some people have a very developed clear audience, but maybe not such a developed clairvoyance, and so they will hear the messages, right? But you send out your intention. You can do what I do, where you open up and you just see who comes. But in the beginning, I would encourage you to send your intentions to a specific, for instance, angel. And then, because then you will know, and then you would test out, okay, which of the clear is the strongest in me? Do I feel? Do I hear? Do I see? Do I just know? Okay. And you work with that angel, or maybe your spirit team, or somebody special in your spirit team, or descended master or whatever. And ascended master rather, and you strengthen that bond, and then you get to learn, okay, these are my strong clears. This is how I'm supposed to communicate. Okay, so I would encourage you to do it that way. Anything else, Spirit? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well. Okay, so what they're saying also, because it's kind of everything is woven together, so I just have to explain that as well. Sometimes you may see, because this is also a way where sometimes your spirit team comes forward. And for me, it was because I was supposed to communicate with a non-human intelligence. And my spirit team then sent a special, or showed me one of my spirit team that I hadn't known before, who was the person who would teach me, or who would be the middleman, or who would be present with me, helping me when I was communicating with non-human intelligence. Okay, and so he is a otherworldly looking character himself. And he came forward then when I opened up. One day I just saw, and I thought first that it was a non-human intelligence that came forward. But of course, when I talked to him, he explained, no, I'm part of your team. Okay, I'm part of your spirit team, and I'm going to be here when you communicate. He would automatically be there if there is a non-human intelligence, star being, ET, whatever you want to call it, who comes in to communicate. He will automatically be there with me. Okay, so he will be my support. He will be my go-to. That I can talk to when that happens. Of course, everybody has a guardian angel. When I communicate with angels, of course, it's natural that my guardian angel is there. If I'm out in nature and I communicate with nature spirits, it's natural that my nature spirit is with me, because I have also in my team a entity that is representative for nature spirit. So he will be present as well, helping me communicate, So our spirit team, especially those who are channelers or mediums or psychics working with the spiritual field, will have all those sorts of helpers or guides, if you will, when we are communicating with the different entities here on the planet or entities in channeling. Okay. So if you're meant to communicate within shamanism, you probably have, within your team, a guide that has themselves been from a native, maybe, population, wherever on the planet, that will help you with your shamanism, right? So I would say that when we open up for channeling or mediumship, don't be surprised if there all of a sudden are entities that's showing up that's part of your team, that is a new collaboration, or maybe they have been there all along, but you haven't, established that connection yet because they haven't felt the necessity to show themselves or talk to you yet because you haven't started channeling yet, right? But when you start, don't be surprised if all of a sudden more parts of your team will show up, okay? So that's something they wanted me to convey as well. So it's a lot of work, people. People think that channeling is just so easy. Yeah, just to sit down, open up, you get information, done. Well, there is a pathway to there, And for me, it has been also a big part of getting to know my team. And there's probably more within my team that I still haven't been introduced to, which is I'm looking forward to. Very interesting. And it develops all along. We are never fully learned. We're never fully, we don't own all the wisdom. It will come when it's needed. When you need it, it will come to you. So we are all learning the whole way. As a human, and our higher selves are a different story. They see things from a totally different perspective, and so our higher self will know all of this already. Okay. So I think that was it. I think that's all I can say, at least right now, regarding channeling. If you have any questions, please feel free to write that down in the comment section, and I will address it. I will answer you. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for being here. Thank you for participating in this video today. I wish you all the best wherever you are in the world. Till the next time I see you.